Hi friends, welcome back. So question for you. How are you doing? How are you doing financially? How are your friends doing? How is your family doing? How are people around you feeling about the economy? I'm starting with this is because we had some earnings reports today from a couple consumer stocks and more news. And I want to go over this stuff. And again, I ask you how are you doing because I think all of these things relate. Sometimes I know, guys, I really know the government comes out with these numbers telling you the economy is fantastic, etc. But I think it just depends in your particular situation, which may differ what than what someone else is trying to tell you. So you know your situation best. And for those of you who are looking to understand the markets and like to keep updated, this is sort of why we go through earnings reports to individual companies because it may vary than what say the government numbers are, be it labor, be it unemployment, be it inflation, these kind of things. So I'll go some examples here. So for example, we're talking about Harley-Davidson. They're reported today, and I'll be curious if any of you are big Harley fans. I don't even know how much they cost these days, to be perfectly frank. I know they're not cheap, especially with inflation. I think they're probably up. Now, it's interesting, the stock went down 4.9%, and then actually their revenue is down. I can see right here, revenue is down 26%. And the question is then, do people not have enough money for Harleys anymore? Or is the company like failing in branding? For those of you who follow Harley, please let me know, right? Because sometimes there are different reasons for why a company is failing. It may just be their business strategy, but just from a numbers perspective, if let's say they've been doing the same thing, all along, I don't follow Harley. That's why I'm asking you for members of the community. And it's fun to share ideas on this stuff. Just from a numbers perspective, if their revenues are down, and I think their profits are down too. And this is the quote from their CEO. They say, "We have worked diligently through the quarter to mitigate the impact of high interest rates." So that's affecting their consumers, high interest rates, right? So it's expensive to get a loan on these things. And macroeconomic and political uncertainty, right? Looking for economy's uncertain. We don't know who's going to win the election, et cetera. That continue to put pressure on the industry and our consumers, especially in our core markets. So they're saying North American retail sales are down 10%, and then global sales are down 13%. Harleys are actually everywhere. You guys may not know this. And I can't speak to whether or not they're more popular in Asia or in Europe, but I can say I have seen them all over the world. But evidently their shipments are down. One thing I thought was kind of funny, the dealerships that work for Harley, they were actually complaining that the manufacturer was sending them too many bikes because they frankly can't sell the ones. They're like, "God, we can't sell the ones a lot. Why do you keep selling them to us?" So anyway, Harley's down. I just wanted to bring that to you. And again, I ask you, how are you doing? Another one example, Hasbro, their profits are down, right? Hasbro is the game company. They have a lot of different things underneath their umbrella. If you guys don't know, I actually like Dungeons and Dragons, that kind of stuff. I don't play that much these days, but I know exactly what it is. And it was interesting because they had a big hit game. Well, they licensed it out. It was Baldur's Gate 3, right? So it's a D&D property, but they licensed it out. And they had massive sales last year on that thing. If you guys are into video games, you probably know it's considered one of the best games ever made. Maybe the best game ever made because I know spent a lot of time talking about video games, but they spent a long time making the dang thing. And they got it right, which a lot of companies these days, they push out product too fast, right? Be it your EA or whatever, you guys know this stuff, because they're trying to please Wall Street, right? Steady sales, et cetera. But because sales were so big last year, comparing this year to last year, it's kind of tough to, tough comps, right? It's hard to grow when you had massive sales before. Revenue's down then 15%. It's not all due to video game, but I'm just saying that's one thing that they had here. Then their film and television was also down 9%. I think they had that Dungeons and Dragons movie, which is pretty good. If you guys saw that seriously was pretty good. The thing that really stood out to me with Magic, so again, they're showing some signs of weakness. Consumer products fell 10%, right? So it's the same, similar to what you've heard for Harley. These things are going down. But the thing that really stood out to me, so I am guilty of this. I don't know how many of you are, I'm kind of showing my nerdiness here, but it is what it is. In the past, I have played Magic online. I was never a paper Magic player, and this is the card game. I'm sure you guys know this thing. It's basically a more geekier version of Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh or whatever. But they're all kind of the same thing. They get you trapped into buying new sets every 2 months or whatever. But the complaints for Magic, I guess, among players, and I'm really revealing my geekiness, is that they release sets like all the time, like way too often. And so they're just really, pushing for profits. But I didn't know this. Their operating margin on their digital side, I guess, is 42%. So if I'm Hasbro, I'm gonna keep making those digital games at 42%. The problem is though is that overall revenue is not great. So you gotta, I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like even though their margins are great in that segment, it's not like the largest portion of their company. So they have to, you know, do other product lines. And I don't think young people are into this thing so much. You guys let me know if your kids are playing Magic. Probably not. I think it's more old dudes like myself. You don't know, I'm 49, so I grew up with this stuff. There's that. So also we have Apple. There was a report. There's the one dude. I think it's a dude. I'm pretty sure it's a dude. Min Chi Kua. You guys probably know his name if you follow Apple rumors. For some reason, he's always got like the rumors. He must have connection with the factories and stuff like that in China. So he's saying that Apple's cut their orders for the iPhone 16 by 10 million units, and that's for fourth quarter of this year, and then I guess the first half of next year. So basically, Apple's not expecting great sales. The sales are going to be down for Apple. Well, the production. So because they have to predict how many should we make, and that's based on, you know, how many you think you're going to sell. So basically, it says here he estimates production of 45 million units during the first quarter of 2025 and 39 million units during the second quarter. Okay. So this is going to be down from 48 million and 41 respectively. So you're dropping from, say, just make it more simple, dropping from, say, like last year you made 48 million phones. This year you're going to make 45, and then another quarter you're going to, you know, go from 41 to 39. You know, all of these kind of things where you say Harley, Hasbro, Apple, things are slowing down. It sort of gives you a sense of how consumers are feeling and what companies are saying, right? That's why I asked you guys, how are you doing? Another issue I thought was interesting, which I saw the headlines yesterday. I just finally read it today. Apple and Goldman Sachs got fined with their credit card thing. They were doing some sort of funky thing to where like, and I actually have one of these, full disclosure, because I have an iPhone, and you know, the card, they give you like better benefits if you buy their products through Apple. So if you have an Apple phone, just the card is fine. And I buy a lot of Apple computers. I always say that I don't work for Apple. I just like their stuff. But I guess they're like cheating us somehow to where they're supposed to be giving you 0% financing, but I guess they weren't. So good thing I just basically pay cash for these things, but like you buy it and then just pay it off right away. But because I think you get like I want to say they give you a 2 or 3% discount or something like that. Who knows? Maybe they're cheating me on that one too. So Apple, I don't care about. I don't like that. And then they were saying something like they used the word sidestep the government to where like if you have a complaint, they don't necessarily. It was like Apple wasn't channeling the complaints to Goldman or something. This was the quote from the government. It says, this is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They say the CFPB is banning Goldman Sachs from offering new consumer credit card unless it demonstrate that it can actually follow the law. That's literally a quote from the government. So Goldman, you can't issue new credit unless you can actually follow the law. Apple and Goldman illegally sidestep their legal obligations for Apple Card borrowers. So I'm one of them. I feel cheated. Why'd you do that to me, Apple? But I'm just letting you guys know what's going on. Mortgage rates, I guess, are creeping back up towards 7%. It looked like they were going down, right? Like it was like mid sixes or something like that. And especially if you're in the home buyers market, right? You care about that stuff. Now, I have read reports that a lot of people are like, they're thinking like, okay, when mortgage rates hit 5%, I'll be more attractive to buying something. So I'll be curious what your target number is if you are in the market. It looks like they're going back to 7, and the basic gist of it is that the bets that the Fed's going to cut rates another 50 basis points, right? 0.5%, another 50 basis points are shrinking, right? So we're all probably expecting a smaller cut. I think theoretically they could hold, but it depends, right? So here's the balance. If you think you have inflation under control, you cut rates because you're concerned about growth, right? If you think things are fine, it's neutral. You don't need to, spur growth. You don't need to, try to stop inflation. You just leave things where they're at. But they, the rumor on the street is they're cutting. That's why I ask you guys, how are you doing? And remember, we're also talking about the market, right? Because, for example, we did talk a lot on Tesla on this channel when, Elon Musk and the team say, hey, we're going to be building these, cyber cabs and new cars, and we're going to grow 20, 30% a year next year. But like when other companies are telling me they're declining and stuff like that, like, is this Tesla absolutely fantastic? And like Harley's, terrible, and Apple's terrible, and, Hasbro's terrible? Or is it that Tesla's like kind of fudging the numbers there? so there's that. And then the other thing is too, is when you talk about like how are consumers doing, A lot of people are struggling right now. I've been following the Boeing story for a while. They had an offer on the table, so the Boeing workers are on strike. I think this is the third offer. If I read this correctly, there were different offers on the table, and at one point, Boeing told the workers, "This is our, our final offer." And then what happened is that the Boeing they released the numbers to the media and to the public first, before to the workers, and that really pissed off the workers, right? So normally, if you're gonna like release your offer, do it privately, and then go to the press together at a predetermined date. But don't go to the press first and then alert the workers. That's pretty lame. But that was on the second deal, I guess. So the third one, they voted it down. They went on strike for I think guess it's 40 days here. 64% of the union, right? So the majority, 64% of the union voted down the deal. That was 33,000 workers. And you got a lot of things going on here because Boeing's also indicating they're going to lay off 10% of their workforce. I think they have 170,000 people on staff, so that means like 17,000 people are going to lose their jobs. And I never make jokes about this stuff. I always talk about this stuff really seriously about the job stuff because you hear a lot of companies are doing this. Now, the contract that was on the table, well, initially is the offer was from Boeing was like, okay, we'll give you 25% pay raise. Then they bumped it up to 35%. Union rejects it. Now they're sticking firm to their guns. They want that 40% raise. Okay, so this will be like over 4 years, I think. Remember Boeing? We talked about this before on the other video where they're offering you like 8% matching or something like that. Now I don't know if the 8% matching exactly the rules on that. I haven't seen the details, but I did see the number 8%, which is very, very generous. However, here's the big sticking point: is Boeing, the workers, they want their pension back. I think that's going to be pretty tough, to be perfectly frank. So I'm not saying it's impossible. I don't know what's going on with Boeing's financials internally, what they're talking and that kind of stuff. I do know there's shady stuff going on in Boeing. I do know that I saw a documentary on Boeing. I think it was called Downfall. It made them look really bad that they, care more about profits than people's lives. And I mean, it's not good. And then we had the whole whistleblower stuff. And the whistleblowers passing away in mysterious circumstances. I think it was 3 or 4 of them, and you guys know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of sleazy stuff going on over at Boeing. We should probably nationalize it or something, maybe. I don't know. Because the thing with the Boeing stuff is that I think you could definitely make the case that it's in terms of like our national security that the government shouldn't let it fail. Now, because normally I say, guys, I just, if a company's poorly run, let it fail. The airplane thing, I don't know, because, and it's actually a true story. It's funny. My wife has a friend. Her and her husband live in Europe. The husband is French, and I was asking him about Airbus actually, and it was funny because he said Airbus is like a pride for Europeans, and that's one of the only companies that can really compete in the world market and dominate. And you guys know this, like Airbus is just killing Boeing these days, and then you have Chinese manufacturers that are making these kind of planes as well. I think Boeing's in trouble, and then they got the workers saying you haven't been paying us enough. And there was a quote from the workers of like, I think the quote was something like, "We're going to take back what you've taken from us." So like, whoa, that's like really harsh language, or I should say strong language, because I want to make clear I do support workers. I never make fun of anyone or anything like that says, "Hey, you're not paying me enough. You're not paying me what I'm worth," because I think if you believe that's what you're worth, you should fight for what you're worth. And this is kind of relates to everything. And this goes for everyone out there, have the skills to be confident of what you're worth and fight for what you're worth. The thing is, when we talk about all these things, right, and there's always going to be fear in the market, problems in the market, et cetera, it doesn't mean you completely stop investing and hide your money in the bank of mattress. Bank of mattress doesn't pay a very good rate, to be perfectly frank. And then you got inflation there. So I'm not a big fan of bank of mattress. Plus, if you're, live in an area of like a flood zone or fire, I'm not into it. But I know some people are, but you do you. And essentially when we talk about markets and investing, for those of you, new to this stuff, it's not never a binary choice. It's not like I have to do all one thing or do, all of another thing. It's you allocate accordingly, right? So if your timeline is longer of when you're going to need that money, then you stay in the markets. But it doesn't necessarily mean you have to YOLO necessarily, right? If your timeline is like shorter, like I need that money now, right? And I can't afford a fluctuation of say 20% of my money, like you're going to say buy a house, for example, and you're looking to do that, or say you're looking to retire and you want to move your money into, fixed, income where you can get like a 5% return guarantees or whatever, because there are things out there that are offering. I think maybe treasuries are 4. I've seen CDs that are 4, something like that. And I know there are 5% stuff out there. You got to look. I mean, everything depends on your neck of the woods. I'm in Korea, so the offerings here are going to be different than what you guys have over there. But the point is I'm trying to say is I go through all this stuff with you guys every day because one, I think our community is absolutely fantastic, and I like to hear different opinions. Like, I don't have much opinion on Harley-Davidson on what's going on with the company. I can tell you the numbers, but I don't know, and that's why I asked for you guys. I can't tell you about Magic the Gathering because I'm a bit of a geek there. I don't play that much anymore, perfectly frank. They want too much money. It's like I don't know if there's any joke nicknames for that one. I was just thinking of like if there's, I just don't know like what the current jokes, meaning like how do you call Magic addiction, or I do know with Pokemon it was like it was a gotta catch them all, but it's more like gotta get all your money, gotta get your money, gotta get it all or whatever. I can't remember what the joke was. You guys remind me. I'm getting old to remember this stuff. But that's it. That's what's going on with the markets today. I'd love to hear your thoughts about any one of these things. I also say we're going to do another video a little bit later today. Yeji and I will share our thoughts on what's going on with North Korea sending troops to Russia. Dude, guys, I really did see it, and so I wanted to save that talk with Yeji because she's Korean. We both live in Korea, and that actually is a very important story to talk about. So please stay tuned with that, and I'll catch you all in the next video.